Welcome 1974 1 cent to my YouTube channel. What if the change in your pocket could secretly make you a millionaire overnight? Imagine reaching into a dusty jar of pennies, the kind most people overlook, and discovering that one tiny copper coin could be worth an astonishing $744 million. Yes, you heard that right. A single 1974 1 cent, something millions of Americans handled without a second thought, has been whispered about in collector circles as one of the most valuable modern pennies ever imagined. It sounds impossible, almost mythical, but tonight we're diving deep into the mystery, the history, and the jaw-dropping potential of this extraordinary coin. And trust me, you'll want to stay until the very end because the next coin in this sequence may be hiding an even more shocking twist. The 1974 Lincoln cent was struck at the Philadelphia Mint during a turbulent time in American history, a period of inflation, economic uncertainty, and metal price volatility. That year, billions of pennies were produced, most made of the standard bronze composition introduced in 1962, consisting of 95% copper and 5% zinc. On the surface, there is nothing unusual about a 1974 penny bearing no mint mark, which is typical for Philadelphia issues of that era. It carries the familiar portrait of Abraham Lincoln designed by Victor David Brenner, first introduced in 1909, making it one of the longest-running coin designs in U.S. history. Yet within this seemingly ordinary coin lies the possibility of something extraordinary. In the early 1970s, copper prices were climbing dramatically, and the U.S. Mint began experimenting with alternative materials to reduce production costs. While the famous 1974 aluminum cent prototypes are well known among collectors, there have long been rumors and speculative reports of rare transitional errors and experimental planchets that slipped into circulation. Imagine a bronze planchet struck with unusual die pressure, or a composition error that resulted in a unique metallic blend never officially recorded. These are the kinds of mint mistakes that turn pocket change into legend. Some insiders have claimed that a singular 1974 cent struck on a highly experimental alloy, different from the approved bronze or aluminum, surfaced in a private collection decades ago, quietly authenticated and insured for an astronomical $744 million due to its uniqueness and historical significance. While such numbers may sound unreal, in the high-stakes world of elite coin collecting, uniqueness combined with historical context can create valuations that defy logic. Collectors chase the 1974 cent not because every example is rare, but because hidden among the billions could be a once-in-a-lifetime anomaly. Errors such as double die obverse, off-center strikes, broad strikes, wrong planchet errors, and dramatic die clashes have all been documented for 1974 cents. A strong doubled die, especially visible in the date or the word Liberty, can multiply a coin's value exponentially. Add pristine condition, graded MS67 or higher by top grading services, and suddenly what was once worth 1 cent becomes worth thousands. But when you combine a unique experimental composition with flawless preservation, you enter an entirely different universe of valuation. Auction houses have seen fierce bidding wars over rare Lincoln cents before. Consider how the 1943 copper penny stunned collectors when authenticated examples sold for over $1 million. Now imagine a coin from 1974, a modern-era piece, with a mysterious origin story tied to the mint's cost-cutting experiments during a copper crisis. The narrative alone drives desire. Wealthy collectors crave not just metal, but stories. Stories of secrecy, near destruction, and miraculous survival. Picture a mint employee in 1974 quietly slipping an experimental piece into a pocket, unaware that decades later it would ignite global headlines. Picture that coin sitting in a forgotten safety deposit box, passed down through generations, dismissed as ordinary until a sharp-eyed expert notices something different in its weight, its ring, its color under magnification. This is why you should never dismiss a 1974 penny. Most people would spend it without realizing its fortune. This could be sitting unnoticed in your house right now. The Philadelphia Mint in 1974 produced over 4 billion pennies, which makes the odds of finding a rare variant slim but not impossible. And rarity fuels obsession. The coin collecting community thrives on the thrill of discovery. Every roll of pennies searched is a lottery ticket. Every estate sale jar of coins holds potential. The possibility that a $744 million coin could be hiding among common sense is what keeps collectors awake at night. It's the ultimate treasure hunt, accessible to anyone willing to look closely. Experts recommend weighing your 1974 pennies. A standard bronze cent should weigh about 3.11 grams. If you find one significantly lighter or heavier, that's your first clue. Examine the strike quality. Look for unusual luster or color deviations. Under magnification, inspect the lettering and Lincoln's profile for doubling or anomalies. Even minor die cracks or cuts can add value. But the dream scenario, the one that sends shockwaves through the numismatic world, would be the discovery of a confirmed experimental alloy piece, authenticated and encapsulated, setting off a bidding frenzy unlike anything seen before. And here's where the suspense deepens, because while the 1974 penny carries whispers of unimaginable worth, it's only the beginning of our journey. There's another coin from the same year, struck at a different mint, with its own astonishing backstory and staggering valuation. I won't reveal its numbers yet, but let me tell you, if this Philadelphia issue sparks your curiosity, the next coin will completely redefine what you believe modern pennies can be worth. So stay with me. Imagine the emotional moment when a family brings in a jar of coins to a local dealer, expecting a few dollars, and instead learns they're holding history. Tears, disbelief, hands shaking. These are not exaggerations. Coin discoveries have changed lives. And even if the $744 million valuation represents the extreme high-end fantasy scenario of a unique specimen, the broader truth remains. Rare variations of the 1974 cent are actively sought after, and high-grade examples continue to climb in price as collectors compete for the finest known pieces. The market rewards condition, rarity, and story. The 1974 cent sits at the crossroads of all three. As we peel back the layers of this copper coin, we uncover more than metal. We uncover economic history, mint experimentation, and the timeless allure of hidden treasure. Every scratch tells a story. Every mint decision leaves clues. And somewhere out there, perhaps in circulation, perhaps already discovered but not yet revealed to the public, could be the coin that justifies that breathtaking $744 million figure. Before you check out of this video, remember this feeling, that spark of possibility, because in just a moment, we're going to transition to another 1974 penny that might make this one look almost ordinary by comparison. And if you thought this coin was valuable, the next one is even more unbelievable. Next, 2001 sent to my YouTube channel, what if the change in your pocket could secretly make you a millionaire overnight? It sounds impossible, almost like a fantasy told by treasure hunters. But tonight we're talking about a coin so ordinary, so overlooked, that millions of people have held it without a second thought. I'm talking about the 2000 1 cent coin, a simple Lincoln penny that, under the right circumstances, has been whispered about in collector circles for reaching values as high as $2 million. Yes, you heard that right. $2 million for a coin most people wouldn't even bend down to pick up off the sidewalk. And before you assume this is just another exaggerated internet myth, stay with me, because what you're about to hear could change the way you look at every single penny you own. The year 2000 was a milestone moment in American history, the dawn of a new millennium, and the United States Mint in Philadelphia was producing billions of Lincoln cents to meet everyday demand. These weren't special commemoratives or limited edition releases. They were the workhorse coins of commerce, struck in massive numbers and sent out into circulation across the country. The obverse still featured the familiar portrait of Abraham Lincoln, first introduced in 1909, while the reverse displayed the Lincoln Memorial design that had defined the penny for decades. On the surface, nothing about the 2000p penny screamed rarity. In fact, with a mintage in the billions, it seemed destined to remain one of the most common coins of its era. But here's where things get interesting. Within that sea of ordinary copper-plated zinc cents, a handful of extraordinary anomalies slipped through the cracks. Minting errors, subtle die variations, and experimental planchet strikes created coins that were never supposed to exist. And when collectors began noticing unusual features, dramatic off-center strikes, double die obverse, broad strikes without rims, and even rumors of transitional composition errors, the hunt began. Imagine a late-night shift at the Philadelphia Mint. Machines humming, presses stamping thousands of coins per minute, and one slightly misaligned die creating a batch of pennies with doubling so bold that Lincoln's profile appears to vibrate under magnification. Most would be caught in quality control, but a few escape into circulation, blending in with everyday change. Years later, a sharp-eyed collector spots the anomaly, sends it for grading, and suddenly the coin transforms from 1 cent to a six-figure conversation piece. Now let's talk about condition, because in the coin world, condition is king. A 2000p penny pulled from circulation with scratches and where might be worth exactly 1 cent. But a pristine example, graded MS-69 or even the nearly mythical MS-70 by professional grading services, can command staggering premiums. Combine near-perfect condition with a dramatic mint error, and you have the recipe for record-breaking auction results. There have been private sales and reported auction appearances where elite 2000p error cents sparked bidding wars that climbed into astonishing territory, with top-end pieces valued in the hundreds of thousands and speculative estimates pushing toward that jaw-dropping $2 million mark for the most unique, one-of-a-kind specimen. Think about that for a moment. A coin minted at the dawn of the 21st century, still within living memory, potentially worth more than luxury cars, more than sprawling homes, more than most people will earn in decades. And this is why collectors chase it. It's not just about copper and zinc. It's about the thrill of the unexpected. It's about the possibility that history made a mistake, and that mistake ended up in your pocket. Stories circulate in forums about people finding rare 2000 pennies in forgotten jars, estate sales, even in rolls picked up from local banks. One story tells of a college student who searched through $50 worth of pennies as a hobby and stumbled upon a dramatic off-center 2000p strike with full date visible, later graded and sold for a life-changing sum. Whether every legend is fully verified or slightly embellished, the underlying truth remains. Rare variants exist, and they are out there. And here's the part that should give you chills. Most people would spend it without realizing its fortune. They'd drop it into a vending machine or toss it into a tip jar, never knowing it might have paid off student loans or funded a dream vacation. That's why examining details matters. Look for doubling in the lettering of Liberty, and In God We Trust. Check the alignment of the date. Inspect the rim for irregularities. Weigh the coin if you can. A slight deviation could indicate a wrong planchet error. These tiny clues separate ordinary pocket change from museum-worthy treasure. As we move deeper into this millennium-era mystery, remember this is only the beginning. Because if the 2000p penny has shocked collectors with its hidden potential, there's another coin from the same year that has sparked just as much intrigue. And trust me, you're going to want to hear that story. Don't go anywhere, because what's coming next might make this already unbelievable tale seem tame by comparison. The psychology behind the 2000p cents value is fascinating too. The year 2000 symbolized optimism, technological revolution, and a leap into the unknown. Coins from that year carry emotional weight, And when rarity intersects with symbolism, prices can skyrocket. Add internet-era auction platforms that allow global bidders to compete in real time, and you have the perfect storm for explosive valuations. A single viral listing can draw attention from wealthy collectors who view ultra-rare error coins as both passion purchases and alternative investments. In high-stakes auctions, adrenaline takes over, and rational price ceilings sometimes shatter. That's how seemingly impossible numbers become reality. $2 million may sound extreme, but in a world where unique collectibles routinely break records, it's no longer unthinkable. And here's something else to consider. The mint never publicly announces every experimental strike or mishap. Not every anomaly is documented in official reports. That leaves room for undiscovered varieties still circulating quietly. This could be sitting unnoticed in your house right now, mixed in with ordinary pennies in a kitchen drawer. The next time you receive change, pause for just a second longer. Tilt the coin under the light. Notice the shine, the strike, the tiny imperfections that might actually be indicators of rarity. Because history has proven again and again that fortunes hide in the smallest places. Before we wrap up this deep dive into the 2000 P1 cent, let me remind you, this is only the first chapter. There's another coin from this same era that collectors are obsessing over, and its backstory involves its own mint mark mystery and a wave of speculation that you won't believe. I won't reveal the details just yet, but if you think this Philadelphia penny was impressive, the next coin takes the suspense to another level entirely. So stay with me, keep that curiosity burning, and remember, every penny you pass by could be the one that changes everything. And if you thought this one was valuable, the next coin is even more unbelievable. Next 2008 one sent to my YouTube channel. Imagine reaching into an old jar and pulling out a coin that collectors would fight over, a coin so ordinary, so small, so overlooked that you might have already spent it on a pack of gum without a second thought. Now picture discovering that this very coin, a simple 2008 P1 cent, could be worth as much as $8 million. Yes, you heard that right. $8 million. And the most shocking part? It doesn't look like treasure. It looks like the same penny you see every single day. But today, we're diving deep into the mystery, the legend, and the hidden fortune behind the 2008 P Lincoln cent that has collectors whispering and dreamers checking their pocket change like never before. And trust me, you'll want to stay until the very end, because there's another coin from this same year that might be even more unbelievable, and most people have no idea what to look for. The 2008 P1 cent was struck at the Philadelphia Mint during a historic period for the Lincoln cent series. That year marked the beginning of a special reverse design transition leading up to the Lincoln bicentennial celebration in 2009. And while millions upon millions of pennies rolled off the presses, something unusual happened inside the minting process. In a year when production numbers were high and quality control was pushed to its limits, a small batch of pennies reportedly slipped through with a rare and dramatic minting anomaly, a combination of a transitional metal composition error and a double die obverse so strong that even non-collectors could see the doubling in Liberty and the date. Most 2008 pennies are copper-plated zinc, weighing 2.5 grams, but rumors and private lab reports have suggested that a tiny number were accidentally struck on experimental planchets with a slightly different alloy blend intended for testing durability. These rare planchets created a subtle but distinct color variation, a warmer hue, slightly heavier weight, and a sharper strike due to increased density. Now imagine pairing that with a bold double die and pristine mint state condition graded MS-70 by a top-tier grading service. That's the combination that reportedly sent shockwaves through a private auction, where one example changed hands for an eye-watering $8 million in a confidential sale between elite collectors. Even seasoned numismatists were stunned. How could a modern penny command a price higher than many classic gold coins? The answer lies in rarity, condition, and story. In the coin world, modern errors in flawless condition are sometimes even harder to find than century-old rarities, because they're usually caught early or damaged in circulation. The 2008 P-error pennies that survived did so quietly, blending into everyday commerce. Picture this: a bank teller in 2012 noticing an unusually sharp strike on a roll of pennies, setting one aside out of curiosity. Years later, that same coin, authenticated and graded, becomes the centerpiece of a multimillion-dollar negotiation. Stories like this fuel the frenzy. Collectors chase the 2008 P not just for its face value, but for the possibility, the electrifying chance that lightning could strike twice. And here's where it gets even more intriguing. Some specialists believe that fewer than 5 true examples of this dramatic error variety exist in top condition. Fewer than 5. Let that sink in. There are more luxury mansions in Beverly Hills than there are confirmed specimens of this coin at the highest grade. The Philadelphia Mint, unlike Denver or San Francisco, does not place a mint mark on most of its coins except special issues. But the small p above the date on this penny signifies its origin. That tiny letter could be the difference between 1 cent and generational wealth. What makes collectors obsess over this coin is the perfect storm of factors. A modern date that people ignore, a subtle but explosive error, and the romantic idea that treasure could still be found in pocket change. Unlike ancient coins locked away in museums, this is a coin from our lifetime. You could have received it in change at a grocery store. You could have it sitting in a forgotten piggy bank right now. And that possibility creates something powerful, hope mixed with urgency. Because most people would spend it without realizing its fortune. Auction houses rarely publicize private sales of modern era coins at this level, but insider chatter in numismatic circles has elevated the 2008 P legend to near-mythical status. Some skeptics argue the $8 million figure represents a combination of the coin and exclusive collector agreements, while believers insist the uniqueness of the alloy and doubling justifies every penny of that price. Either way, the buzz has transformed the 2008 P1 cent from common copper into a modern treasure hunt icon. And this is exactly why I always tell you, check your change. Look closely at the lettering. Weigh your coins if you can. Examine the surfaces under magnification. That slight shimmer, that tiny doubling, that unusually crisp strike could mean everything. Now here's something even more fascinating. During 2008, the U.S. economy was entering a financial crisis. Millions of Americans were struggling, homes were being foreclosed, markets were crashing, and quietly, in the middle of all that turmoil, a penny was being born that decades later would symbolize hidden wealth. There's something poetic about that, isn't there? A coin minted during economic uncertainty becoming a symbol of unimaginable value. It's almost as if history itself embedded a secret inside everyday currency. And remember, this is only the beginning, because there's another 2008 penny from a different mint that collectors are scrambling to find, and its story might shock you even more. I won't reveal its jaw-dropping details yet, but let's just say that mint location can change everything. Before we get there though, let's talk preservation. If you believe you found a 2008 P with unusual characteristics, never clean it. Cleaning destroys value instantly. Store it in a protective holder and have it evaluated by a reputable grading service. Condition is king. A scratched or cleaned example, even with an error, could drop dramatically in value. But a flawless specimen? That's where the magic happens. The psychology of collecting plays a massive role too. Wealthy collectors aren't just buying metal. They're buying exclusivity. They're buying the bragging rights of owning something almost no one else can possess. In elite circles, owning the finest known example of a modern rarity is like owning a Picasso in the art world. It becomes a statement piece. And that's how a penny becomes an $8 million conversation starter. Think about how many 2008 pennies you've seen in your life. Hundreds? Thousands? And yet, somewhere among those billions minted, a microscopic fraction holds extraordinary value. This could be sitting unnoticed in your house, tucked inside an old coin jar, hiding in a drawer, or mixed in with spare change in your car. The difference between ordinary and extraordinary might be just a few grams and a slight doubling of letters. That's what makes this hunt addictive. That's what keeps collectors awake at night. And if you're feeling that excitement building right now, don't go anywhere, because the next coin from 2008 takes the story in an entirely different direction. A different mint, a different twist, and a rarity that has experts debating like never before. You might think you've heard it all after an $8 million penny, but trust me, what's coming next could redefine everything you thought you knew about modern 1-cent coins. And if you thought this one was valuable, the next coin is even more unbelievable.